Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Check Service Industry Podcast. I am Reyshan Parker, and if you haven't had a chance yet, please go watch my television series Beyond the Check Worker Owner Edition on Amazon Prime and Fox's Tubi TV. I go hang out with awesome chef owners, and they make me fantastic food, and I get to eat it. Great. Cool. I have a wonderful guest today. She's a food blogger and a self-proclaimed allergy queen because she has a few of them. She's also a cookbook author, and her cookbook is now out. It's called The Easy Allergy-Free Cooking. It's simple and safe for everyone, recipes for everyone. It's literally, you got gluten-free, dairy-free, vegan, vegetarian. It's a little bit of everything, and I imagine she made it all so that she could actually eat the stuff that's in here. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Kayla Cappiello.
Hi.
And I said it right again, right? Cool.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being here. So you wrote a cookbook.
I did write a cookbook, which now seems pretty wild. And if you had told me that 5 years ago, I would have called you crazy. But here we are on publication day.
Yay! And it's finally out. So you never dreamed as a little girl that one day you would have a published cookbook?
So I always hoped, and I actually minored in creative writing in college, but I never thought it would be a cookbook. And then as my life progressed, that's totally what it ended up being.
Very nice. So it's got a little bit of your story in here. You want to go ahead and tell me what inspired you to make an easy allergy-free cooking cookbook?
Of course. So I guess it started kind of in college. I began noticing that I was much more tired. I was much more lethargic. I couldn't really focus when all my friends were not tired, not lethargic, and they could focus no problem. I would go out, I'd eat pizza, I'd drink beer. I had a great time, but I never felt great afterwards. And then as I graduated from college and started kind of in the corporate America world, I noticed I always felt sick after lunch, and I was always eating a sandwich for lunch. So it kind of led me on this journey for figuring out what I could eat without feeling sick and without feeling tired. I did find out that I am celiac. I have the celiac gene, and my dad is also celiac. While getting tested for that, they tested me for everything else, and I found out I was lactose intolerant. And I always knew I was allergic to tree nuts. It's not all tree nuts. It's mainly almonds, pistachios, and hazelnuts.
But better safe than sorry, right?
I know. And it's very tough, though. When you're gluten-free, a lot of things are substituted with almonds and almond flour, and that's not a great combo for me. So as I found all this out, I realized that I wanted recipes that I could make that accommodated all three of my restrictions, and I just couldn't find any out there.
So were you in the service industry to begin with? Were you a cook? Were you a home cook?
Oh my
Did
gosh.
you cook with grandma? What?
Yeah,
where did the cooking come from?
I definitely cooked with my parents, my grandparents. I was very into it. I think it very much is my relaxation time. I can listen to a podcast or listen to a book on tape or some music and kind of just focus on what I'm doing. And it helps me kind of stay calm and relax at the end of the day. And I really like that. I always felt that way about cooking, but I felt like I wasn't that good at it in the beginning. But when you're left not being able to order in or pick up a slice of pizza on your way home from work, you're kind of stuck being if you can't make it yourself, you're not going to have it at all. And I was determined to figure out how to make it myself because I still wanted to have it.
I mean, so you eat a lot of pumpkin? A lot of pumpkin in your
Yeah,
world?
I do.
Yeah?
I do love mashed pumpkin and mashed bananas. I think I put mashed bananas in all of my cooking recipes. I love them.
Because you
They're
literally
all of my baking recipes.
had to recreate all the things that you like without being able to have the traditional things that you would make them out of. So let's fun tips and tricks. So I know there's a lady who was on who loved pumpkin, and she made brownies out of pumpkin, and pumpkin became the flour.
I'm the banana version of that.
So it's all bananas all the time.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's so easy. Once I started being dairy free, it was instead of adding milk, like you would just add oat milk when I was baking instead of, using regular flour. I moved to gluten-free flour, but there's not really a great substitute for eggs. And I felt like if I was catering to some allergies, even though it wasn't my own, I wanted people to be able to still like trust me and still like buy my book and figure out my recipes and enjoy what I was enjoying. So I use mashed banana in place of eggs almost every baking recipe I have.
Bananas instead of eggs. See, that would not have been
Yeah,
my first go-to thought, right? But why? Why bananas for
because
eggs?
it's still really moist. And I feel like a lot of time in a baking recipe, the eggs are there to like keep moisture in it. And if bananas are good for banana bread, why aren't they good for every other baking and dessert?
Touche. Uh, yeah, bananas. And
Maybe I got on my banana bread kick in COVID and never kind of came out of it.
and potassium. We all just need a little extra
Yeah,
potassium too. Why not? It's just a healthier version. It's just a healthier
for
version.
sure.
So you do literally have a little bit of something for everybody in here, because there's literally like you have a taco dish in here that is like it's like a spicy chicken taco, but then right next to it is a squash taco, and so you literally have for the meat eaters out there, plenty of fun recipes, and then obviously right next to that a completely vegan another version. So
Yeah, for sure. I felt like it was important. I'm a person who doesn't like to eat meat for every single meal. I certainly do eat meat, but sometimes I just save my protein for dinner. I just like enjoy my meals that way. And I was like, oh, I can eat a taco for dinner, but like, what if I want tacos for lunch? And I like to make salads. I like to make tacos. I like to make pastas, but I'm like, not everyone is going to want to add the meat. So sometimes I just have a little note at the bottom, like, feel free to add grilled chicken or chicken sausage, because not everyone's going to do it.
no, and maybe you don't even have to.
Yeah.
I eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for lunch like several days a week, which I just consider my vegetarian meal for the
Yeah, that's your meat grill meal.
day. But they're so good. You forget for years sometimes how good just a peanut butter and jelly sandwich is. Can you have
For
peanuts?
sure. So I can have peanuts, but
Yay!
I do give a lot of peanut-free alternatives.
But you
I
lucked
would
out.
be
You
lost
lucked out
without
on that
peanut
one,
butter,
huh?
though. Yeah.
Because it's a legume. It's not a tree nut.
Yeah, it's not on a tree, so can do it.
Bravo, bravo. So so a lot of people, like, this is your first cookbook. A lot of people would be like, I would love to write a cookbook and I'd love to get my cookbook published. And how did you come about actually getting yourself this cookbook out in the world?
So I started my Instagram because I wanted to personally keep track of my own recipes that I liked. I felt like I'm not the type to journal, and I liked having the
Mm.
picture with my recipe. Like I would put it in the caption, and for years I would just keep my Instagram on private, and it was just my way to look back at things that were a success. And then I finally made it public and I tried to find people out there, maybe like one or two people who ended up having similar allergies. And I found like an entire community out there. And I
Ah,
felt like once I shared a lot of recipes on Instagram, the next thing I wanted to do was share a lot of recipes in like print form. So I did a lot of research about self publication and then finding a publisher. And I reached out to a literary agent who I had found. And at the time, I did not have a lot of followers on Instagram. I was not where I am now, but he believed in me and he saw my recipes and he saw my photos and he was like, let's just do it together. So he helped me put together like basically a whole mini version of what I wanted my cookbook to be. It had sample chapters, sample recipes, photos for what my recipes would look like. And he helped me shop it around to different publishers. I definitely would not be here without him because I think it's probably really hard getting your stuff in front of the right people. And he really was able to bridge that gap for me.
good for you. Good for him.
Yeah, it was super helpful. I feel like looking back in the moment, I was very grateful for it. But now that I'm kind of at the end of the line and it's coming out and people are buying it, looking back, I just had no idea how much work was put into it. And he really worked hard to like get it in front of people who cared about, the allergy community.
So I talk about this with other authors. How hard was it just to and how much time did it take just to write the book? and then all the pictures and all the fun work that really goes into probably at least a year of work to get this done, right?
Yeah, it's definitely at least like a year of work. I think a first cookbook is probably a bit easier, maybe, because it's things I've been storing up in my own mind or on my Instagram that I've wanted to publish for so long, like for years. So I would take, let's say, a casserole recipe I posted that I really enjoyed that I make over and over. And then I'd be like, okay, how do I elevate it now for the cookbook? Like, do I use a different meat? Do I use a different sauce? Do I use a different grain? And kind of go from there. A lot of the pictures like I had taken beforehand or taken over time and knew kind of the pictures I enjoyed posting on Instagram. So I was able to either remake the meal or remake the photo in a way that felt like very genuine to me. But again, it's like all these things have been like over time I've thought about and I've waited to create. I feel like people who write a second cookbook, then it's like you have 1 year to do everything versus I think by the time I knew that the cookbook was a possibility, I like had all these ideas in my head and just had to actually like execute on them.
And then you have some, I'm sure there's a few left over that didn't make the cut, right? So,
Oh my gosh, there's so many that didn't
there's
make
your
the cut.
second cookbook.
So basically what I did was like I wrote down very quick ingredients and my like recipe like directions on each page. And after all of it was fleshed out, I went back and had to write like the whole thing in a way that could be consumed by someone who had never cooked my recipes before. And I think that was the most time consuming to go back and be like, okay, my quick notes said X, Y, and Z, but now I really have to detail it for someone who's making this from scratch. And that definitely took months. That was the most time consuming part of it all.
Getting the formula of explanation down to us other
Yeah.
humans, huh? We're not always the smartest, so we need it very black and white and straightforward.
And I'm like, not everyone has watched my reels on Instagram or watched me cook in real life or eaten something that I've made before. So it's like you have to assume that everyone's starting from scratch with a cookbook. And
It just helps.
I couldn't just be like, make the chicken.
You're gonna need a dash of salt and maybe a pinch of pepper and a handful of non-tree nuts. How much is a handful? In whose hand is that, Grandma?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Someone please tell me. So you have some fun, easy things in here. Like, obviously you can't go grab a slice of pizza real quick. Well, you can't. I bet it's a little easier now, right? We got some gluten-free options out there.
Yeah, but not by the slice. That's old news for me.
Oh, there's your food truck
like
idea.
You can like only buy it by the pie. So now I have leftovers. They're like all in the kitchen, like stored in my freezer.
Get a dog. Get a gluten-free dog. So like some at a glance, just like super quick stuff that normally you would question, like, how do I just make a quick gluten-free pizza crust right here? How long did it take you to research just for yourself when you first started out?
Oh my God, when I first started out, I had no idea what I was doing in the beginning. I want to say the first pizza I made knowing that I was gluten-free, dairy-free was like horrific. But it's like I have a worksheet in there and it's like you try all these things over time. So I would try all these pizza crusts and then I keep notes on it. And then I try all these different pizza crust recipes and take notes. And then it's like, let me pull a little from this one and a little from this one, and we're going to try it and see if it tastes better. And then if not, we're going to try it again until I figured it out, because the first ones are horrible. It's true with I feel like it's really hard about dairy-free cheese too. It's like the first ones you get when you realize you have to eat dairy-free are probably not the best ones. But once you start trying them all, then you figure out which ones you really like.
Well, you got to start like branching out you got to get online and start looking and
ordering. Yeah, you got to read those reviews from people or else I'm stuck buying things I hate.
Yeah, if you just go to Kroger's, you only have a couple options and they're not the best options.
Exactly.
To be honest, I've never had a vegan cheese that I was like, that's it. Nailed it. Like, that is cheese.
It's definitely better when it's melted. It is not great when it's not melted. Like, I would never slap a piece of dairy-free cheese on my sandwich and be like, that's the same thing.
So, I mean, American cheese is pretty much, It's just oil anyway, so there's not really any dairy in that. the,
That's funny.
I think it's that pretty. There might be a little bit of like some milk powder or something, but
And I have found out that like I guess if you're going dairy free for vegan for like reasons, it's like much different. But I went dairy free because I was lactose intolerant. And a lot of very hard cheeses like Parmesan don't have a lot of lactose in it. So it's much less of a reaction than if you eat like a cream cheese or a goat cheese.
yeah, I noticed. Where is it? There's a goat cheese. So is goat cheese just as bad as cow cheese?
Yeah, it's still
Yeah.
dairy.
Oh man, bummers. So just the mozzarella and the parmesan, huh? Asiago?
I think still dairy.
Yeah, bummer.
It's not my favorite, so I don't know. I'm sure it's still dairy.
Touche.
If it was dairy free, I'd know by now.
Yeah, cranberry and goat cheese crostinis. That's what I was looking at.
Oh yeah, they're great. I love making them for like a party.
Can you have a bite? You can have a little bite.
If I have a lactate.
Touche, touche. So you didn't make.
But I had,
So it's not just stuff that you can eat in here. You made fun stuff for other people too.
yeah, for sure. And there's just like, if you want the dairy-free version, here's what you can substitute. Or if you want the gluten-free version, like here's what you can substitute. And it kind of just is a bunch of core basic recipes that I enjoy, but like you can kind of alter them to the way that fits you. I felt like in the beginning, that's what I had a lot of trouble with. Like, how could I look at this recipe and figure out the right way to alter it for me? And I try to use this cookbook to show people that you can take a recipe and alter it and not miss out on it just because it's not dairy free.
Oh, it's a good starting point. It's a good starting point. And there's 100. There's 100 of them in here.
There are.
Exactly 100 recipes.
I don't know who was in charge of counting that, but I submitted a lot of recipes.
Like she can only have 100. There's a baking book that is literally, I don't even know how many. It's like a Bible of just like baking recipes, and there's probably 1,000 recipes in there. I don't know. It was a lot.
That's crazy.
And her publicist was like, "Next time you can't have this many.
Yeah.
This is too much."
Yeah, that's what I needed my editor for. Like, hey, drop this recipe or drop this photo or add a photo here, because I would have submitted like hundreds of recipes.
So, is there something that you always craved from back when you could eat whatever you wanted, or when you did eat whatever you want, that you feel like you just literally nailed, and you're like, "Oh, thank God! It took forever, but I did it."
Yeah, I feel like in this cookbook, there's a section, it's like fake takeout food. So it's a lot of things that I used to love to order but can't anymore. So obviously there's a lot of pizzas in there. And I think like nostalgic recipe number one for me is the buffalo chicken pizza. When I was in college, I always used to get buffalo chicken pizza. And it took me so long to figure out how I could recreate it. Also in there, I have there's like a Korean ground turkey recipe. There's some Asian inspired recipes. And it's so hard to order that now that I'm gluten-free, because everything that uses soy sauce, you can't.
Oh no.
Yeah, so
See,
it's
all the
really
things
tough.
you can't have, like I don't even know that would be a thing. Like, oh, you
Yeah,
can't have
so
soy.
like I really used to love like orange chicken or sesame chicken or anything like that, really, but all of it has soy sauce. And I'm sure there's a place out there where you can order it and have gluten-free soy sauce used in the kitchen, but
Somewhere.
I have not found it yet.
It's in San Francisco or New York.
Yeah, it's definitely not in Morristown, New Jersey, where I live.
Oh yeah, we never even got to. Where are you? You're in New Jersey. You don't.
Yeah.
You don't sound like a Jersey girl.
I'm not from New Jersey. I just
Touche.
live here. I grew up in New York, and then I lived in Hoboken for like 10, 12 years, and I just moved to Morristown, New Jersey in May.
It's the Hoboken thing, huh?
Yeah, definitely. But great gluten-free options there. I mean, if I was going to find out I was gluten-free anywhere, that was definitely the right place for me. It's like every restaurant there has gluten-free pizza crust, gluten-free bread for sandwiches, like gluten-free wraps. I felt like by the time I did my research and I I moved out, I knew all the good places. Dairy-free latte places. They were really allergy friendly.
Wow. That is that's more than I mean, I live in Savannah. So we have a good catering too, but not I've never seen a latte place that was literally just like dedicated to
Yeah,
that.
I feel like I probably have a list somewhere on my Instagram because I try to keep lists. So when I go out to dinner, I can feature what I ordered and say, like, hey, if you do live by Hoboken or if you do live, like, I'm in New York City a lot or now Morristown, like, here are the places I go to that are safe. And people really like that because it's like, it's my lifestyle. It's not just like I'm creating recipes to give to people. This is how I live my whole life. And Hoboken had so many coffee places, and all of them had either coconut milk or you could get oat milk, or I'm sure you could have gotten almond milk too, but it was so great. It was everywhere.
Now
It was
now
so
it's everywhere. I
accommodating.
mean, even when you go to the grocery store, there's an entire section of just gluten free next to all the regular stuff now, and that's brand new.
Yeah.
That's probably in the last 10, maybe not even 10 years that's all gotten stocked.
Yeah. I can't imagine. I mean, my dad found out when I found out that he was gluten free. But I know a lot of people like more towards his age who have been gluten free all their lives. And they were like, as a child or as a young adult, there were no options. And now the options are way better.
Well, before we didn't even know. I don't think we even knew, right? Like,
Yeah.
just like bread. What are you talking about? It's bread.
Yeah. Just
We've
eat
been
it.
eat your bread. What is it? Everybody eats bread. Nobody doesn't eat the bread, okay?
Everyone was eating bread.
Everybody
Yeah,
eats
I
the
guess
bread.
if it wasn't so, I guess like I could Google like some of my symptoms and kind of wade through like maybe the things that it could be and why I was having a stomach ache. And if research wasn't like at the tip of my fingertips, I'm not even sure that I would have been
Yeah,
able to figure out.
before Google, like just
Yeah,
like
who knew?
my belly hurts. Oh, every time I eat pizza, my belly hurts.
Exactly.
It must
Which
be
is
the
how I
tomato
grew up.
sauce. Must be the tomato sauce. It's acidic.
Exactly. Yeah, it was like every time I had a stomach ache, it was like, oh, like she just has a weak stomach. It's fine.
Turns out it was a real thing.
Yep. Turns out I didn't drink my milk as a kid because it didn't make me feel good.
And all those cookies. Oh man, mom said it was just the sugar. That was the cookie. Okay, let's talk more about some desserts here because I found one that I really want to eat, and it definitely has bananas in it. It was salted chocolate and banana bread blondies. Yes,
Oh,
please.
they're really good. So I have to say, I probably make those or some version of those at least once a week. So I'm like, there's nothing
Yeah,
unhealthy about them. It's bananas, like you could use applesauce, it's oat milk.
yeah. What do we got here? You're gonna need for these salted chocolate banana bread blondies, which good for you. Little chocolate, just give you a kick, right?
Yeah, dairy-free chocolate if you like.
Terry Freach, carob, go crazy. You had carob? Do you know of the carob? How do you feel about the carob?
It's not my favorite.
Nobody likes the carob.
No.
People would prefer Ovaltine over carob. That's what my mom is an herbalist. We grew up eating bulgur wheat and
Oh my gosh.
like flowers were our candy. I'm literally not making that up. She made candied burdock one time. Do you know what burdock is?
No.
So burdock is the little sticklers that you get caught in your hair, like if you were in the country, or like the
Yes.
thing that Velcro is made after.
Okay.
And it's edible. And
I did not even know it was edible.
you can make burdock tincture, which you would make like out of the leaves and stuff, but you can also eat the stalks, and they're terribly bitter and not good. But she would take them and boil them down so they're like a little bit softer, and then she'd put them on a baking sheet, sprinkle them with sugar, and put them in the oven, and bake it for a little bit till the sugar kind of just combined
Oh my goodness.
to it, and that was my candy.
That's like ultra health food candy.
Yeah, I mean it was still sugar, right? So like you still added the pure sugar, but it just happened to be coated over over a burdock stalk. We went to my grandparents to actually have licorice and stuff.
As long as you got it somewhere.
You know, it was, yeah. But flowers too, the little purple flowers that grow in your yard.
Yeah.
Should candy those things.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Those weren't bad. They didn't really taste like anything except the sugar once they were baked. But anyway, super healthy. But if she would have had this cookbook, maybe she could have actually made me these banana blondies instead, which look way better. So, do you care if I just throw this recipe?
No, go ahead.
Here? Cool. So these look absolutely to die for. You could probably have them for breakfast or lunch, right? And it's some plant-based milk, 2 mashed bananas. So now you know what to do with those old bananas that are sitting on your counter that you knew you weren't going to eat to begin with, but still bought. A little bit of maple syrup, honey, or agave. Nice. Some gluten-free flour, a little sugar, coconut sugar, a teaspoon of baking powder, and some baking soda. That's it. That's the whole thing. A little sprinkle of salt.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
It's pretty easy. I feel like it's no nonsense. It's not putting anything in there that you can't pronounce or that you don't know what it is. It's nothing foreign. It's everything you would put in your oatmeal.
It's stuff you might actually already have in your refrigerator, in your cabinet already.
Exactly.
Particularly those bananas that are currently still rotting on your counter. Go do something with those. I always have a couple.
I definitely have a couple. And then once they like start to go brown, I put them in the freezer for when I do want to make banana bread or blondies or anything. A good idea. So then I can just pull them out.
I just throw them in the compost.
No. It's actually better once they're frozen and like you defrost them because then you don't have to mash them. They're like already soft. It like makes your life easier.
It does. I did a tomato sauce recipe because let me just ask you, how long do you think it should take to make homemade tomato sauce?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm not even sure that I've made my own from scratch.
So I had Marianne Esposito on. She's Chai Italia on PBS for like 31 years now, probably. And so my buddy, he makes tomato sauce and he puts it in a crock pot and it takes like 8 hours, right? He like wakes up in the morning.
That's what I would have guessed.
And like 8 hours. But turns out you also want to freeze your tomatoes. So just take your tomatoes and freeze them and just keep tomatoes in the freezer. So whenever you want to make homemade tomato sauce, it should take 20 minutes. I was told.
Wow.
I was told 20 minutes. Because once you just take them, boil them for a minute to like thaw them out. And when they were frozen, all the ice forming kind of destroyed the tomato already, right? Inside the cells of the tomato, it's all shattered. So, and you just take an immersion blender, blend it up in the pan.
Oh my God. I need to try that immediately.
And that's it. You're done. That's the tomato. Add some seasonings if you want to, right? But otherwise.
Wow. I'm definitely going to take you up on that and try that immediately.
Super simple. Like.
It is simple.
Doesn't have to take 8 hours. And you don't peel the tomatoes either. She's like, no, just leave the skins on there. It's fine.
Wow.
Yeah,
so
right?
Like literally no work.
No work.
Doing the whole thing.
Homemade tomato sauce like a true Italian would make, because that's how she's
doing it.
That's
crazy. I'm going to email you back when I try that this weekend.
20 minutes. It's not in her new cookbook, though. She just told me that on the podcast. So you're welcome. You're welcome. So if you have to, do you have any like tips and tricks? Because I know you do go out for people, like if you all your friends want to go to that place and they don't really have anything for you. Yeah. Well, what did we do? What do you do?
Okay, let's chat about that. The first thing I do is Google it. If there's any reviews, I Google like whatever the restaurant name is and then gluten-free or dairy-free. And it'll pop right up if someone's reviewed it about if they have gluten-free crust or gluten-free bread or gluten-free pasta or whatever. It comes right up. I prefer, and I never used to be this person, but I prefer now to be the person who calls for the reservation, because then I can directly ask on the phone, hey, I'm coming in, I'm gluten-free, like, can you accommodate? And normally they'll tell you right on the phone if they have like a dedicated prep space or if they have gluten-free pasta or pizza or whatever, or if it's like a shared fryer, which are things like people really need to pay attention to. If they don't know on the phone, I've straight up asked to speak to someone who works in the
The
kitchen
kitchen.
or a waiter or a waitress, and places are very accommodating. Places will be like, no problem, like 1 second. And then I look through the menu before I go to. I kind of pick out 2 or 3 things that I know seem safe, that I've already asked about on the phone, or I feel comfortable. Like now that I'm more seasoned doing it, I'm okay getting to the restaurant and asking, because I can look through the menu and say, oh, probably these 5 things I can eat, but let's ask about these things instead of saying what on your menu can accommodate me. So it gets easier like as you go along, but I definitely do my research before I go anywhere for the first time.
Smart.
Yeah. I mean, it's scary because I used to really like going out to dinner. I like to go out for like dinner and drinks with my friends and socialize. But if you don't know the place, it's really nerve-wracking. And then you're so consumed with, can I eat there? Am I just going to be eating a side salad? Like, what do I do?
Do I need to eat before I go?
Yeah, that's also a huge
Do I
thing.
take
like,
a burrito in my purse?
Yeah. Like whenever we get invited to a wedding, I'm like, I'm just going to eat before I go. Like, I don't want to worry about it.
Oh, because there's only 3 options, right? Like,
Yeah. And what if I can't eat any of them? Normally, places are pretty decent. Like, normally you can say, oh, I'll take the chicken without the sauce, or I'll take the steak, like, without the sauce, because if it's some
flour
sort of
in the sauce.
that they've thickened with flour, you're kind of screwed.
No, it's complete. No, it's completely gluten free. We forgot about the sauce.
And then no one knows, and now I'm like ill. But normally, like, I'll eat something before I go, so then I'm not like ravenous. And then if I can eat something, great, and if I can't, then I'm okay.
You're still gonna have fun in the moment.
Yes,
because you can.
I'll drink enough wine.
You'll drink enough wine because you can have wine, ciders. Yeah. What about the seltzers?
Most of them say gluten-free. I know there are some that are made, I think, with non-gluten-free ingredients, but like a White Claw, like they'll say it like on the front.
So I was wondering about, I like High Noons.
Yeah, I can drink a High Noon.
You can drink a High Noon, so it's potato vodka in the High Noon.
Yeah.
Nice. Go High Noon.
And like,
I knew you were a good seltzer.
Right. And like Tito's is easy. Like it just says it on the bottle. I'm like, great.
They have their market.
Yeah, definitely. They know.
So I think we're on the same time period. So it'll be dinner time soon. What are you going to be having for dinner?
Oh, I'm making an enchilada skillet.
An enchilada skillet.
I made shredded chicken last night in the crock pot,
Nice.
and then I just like put it in a Tupperware for tonight. And then in the skillet tonight, I'll add the shredded chicken, the enchilada sauce. I have some cheese and peppers and onions, and then corn tortillas on the top, and they get crispy. And you just put the whole skillet right in the oven.
Oh, see, that's just like a regular meal.
Yeah. Most Mexican is also like, you can always get a corn tortilla at a Mexican place.
Yeah, Mexicans, the original gluten-free country.
Yeah, they're corn chips, corn tortillas. Rice. Yeah, that's great.
I mean, yeah. Mexican. So you're never like, oh, no, I can't go to the Mexican place. Mexican is always a safe go-to.
Yeah, I won't even look up the menu at this point. I'm like, I can find something. It's fine.
It's all going to be good.
Yeah.
Awesome. So where can we get this book? Where can we follow you at? And
so you go ahead.
And
As I'm so excited.
Where can we learn more about your fantastic living allergy-free cooking lifestyle?
So you can follow me on Instagram. It's just at Kayla Cappiello. You can follow me on my blog. It's kaylacappiello.com. And my book, Easy Allergy-Free Cooking, is available on Amazon, at Barnes & Noble, at Target, and at Walmart. Go
get it wherever is closest to you.
Yes, please.
Because it's a fantastic cookbook. There's a bunch of amazing recipes in here. And if for nothing else, get it for that blondie recipe.
Yes.
Yum.
Use those bananas.
Use those bananas, people. They are not doing you any favors on the counter.
For sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and telling me all about your amazing cookbook. The link for it is in the description, as well as all of her social media links. So go find Kayla, hang out with her, follow her, make her food.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Tell New Jersey I said what's up, and bet on number 27 for me if you run by the casino.
Will do.
Cheers, Kayla. Thank you so much. And everybody else, go watch my TV show. Cheers.